Here we go. Bladder.
Urinary bladder.
Prostate.
Prostatic urethra. Membranous urethra.
Okay.
Spongy urethra. External urethral orifice. Anal. Sorry.
Rectum.
Anal canal. And then anus.
What was the line right here that he said?
I guess that is that not part of the sphincter?
What?
The anal sphincter?
Is that not where the sphincter is created?
What was that line right here?
But
You're talking about, well, that right there is the anus, but yeah, that's where your caloric sphincter would be, wouldn't it? At the end.
Internal.
not caloric, yeah.
Internal anal sphincter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Levator ani down here, and then like just like building up around it, and then like this part around here, and then here's your what I'm thinking is your external anal sphincter, and this would probably be your internal anal sphincter if he was the ass.
Okay, so this is
That's
your
external
levator?
and there's your
Levator's down here.
Okay. And then external, internal.
As best we can figure.
Okay, and that's the only thing on that?
Labia majora, your labia minora. Oh, wait, I think I said that wrong. No, I said it right. Labia majora, labia minora. You have your vaginal canal, and then you have your external cervical os. You have your internal cervical os. This would be your uterus. That's your bladder, and that's your urethra. And that's your external urethral orifice, and your internal urethral orifice. You have your pubic symphysis, and your mons pubis. You have your rectum, your anal canal, and your anus.
Is this your urogenital membrane?
Yeah.
Or diaphragm?
Yeah, that would go into your urogenital diaphragm. But you can't see it on any of them.
primary follicle, primary follicle, primary follicle, primary follicle, primary follicle, secondary follicle with the presence of the antrum.
Okay.
Same thing, secondary with the antrum. Grothian follicle with a large antrum on the inside, and then this is the egg. Here's the ovum, there's the zona pellucida, and then there's the corona radiata around the outside.
Okay. Do you mind explaining the other two?
Sperm.
Yeah.
Acrosome is the enzyme packed in. You have the neck, or sometimes, I don't know if they're referring to it as the neck or the mid-piece.
He said mid-piece.
Mid-piece, okay. It's essentially the same thing, and then you have the tail. So all of that would be the head. This is demonstrating fertilization. There's a little sperm in the egg. This is your completion of mitosis with your polar bodies. This is a finish of meiosis.
Okay, I was wondering like. Cool.
With your polar bodies, and then this is the first mitotic division with your polar bodies. And then as you come over, you have your two-cell stage, morula, okay, and then your blastula. So you end up with this space on the inside, blastocele, trophoblast going around the outside, and you can see the beginning of your inner cell mass. Make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. That was great. Thank you so much.
Yes.
You got fertilization again here. I mean, that's what this is demonstrating. So there's your egg and there's the sperm. Okay. Two-cell stage, four-cell stage, and then 8, your morula. Okay. Here you can see the actual formation of the blastocele, right? So what stage would that be? Dun dun dun. Well, what comes next? Blastocele is the side on the inside. This is a blastocyst. Okay. And you have your trophoblast around the outside, and you can see the formation of your inner cell mass beginning on the inside. This has not differentiated yet. That's why it's all one color. When you come over here, you can see that it has differentiated into 2 different colors. Those represent the 2 different layers. Eventually it would be endoderm and ectoderm, and mesoderm will fill in between.
Okay, I remember him saying that.
Okay. Trophoblast around the outside, blastocele on the inside. And then as we get into this stage, we see gastrulization. Gastrulization is just the formation of a cavity on the inside. So you see how that two-layer bigerminal bilayer germ disc. I'll get it right in a minute. Bilaminar germ disc has started to kind of poke in there. That is gastrulation. So this would represent a gastrula. Make sense? Okay. As it would continue on, you continue to differentiate the structure. There's your bilaminar germ disc, and now you see that the tissue starts to take on a different form. These are going to give rise to two different structures. You're going to end up with the embryo, the amniotic sac, actually three different structures, and then the yolk sac as well. Okay, so that's what's forming here. The tissue across the middle is going to become the embryo. One of these is going to become the yolk sac. One of them is going to become the amniotic sac. Okay.
Does that color
Does it matter
represent?
which one at that
Or,
point?
I'm going to show you in just a second,
Okay.
so just kind of keep that in mind for now. See these structures? Those are your chorionic villi starting to form. And as these come out, they're going to form those little fingers, and the side that comes into contact with the uterus is going to end up forming your placenta and attachment with the umbilical cord and all of that. So you're going to see that the structure on the inside that's differentiating where the embryo is going to be is going to start going towards one side and kind of implanting towards one side of the structure. That's where the umbilical cord is going to form. And then the side where this structure comes into contact with the actual uterus is where the placenta will form. Okay, so that's what you're seeing here. And again, this will become the embryo. These structures will become either the amnion or the yolk sac. It's okay, I'm used to it, right?
So sorry.
All right, so now, take a look at what we have now. Here's the chorionic villi. Notice that they're starting to decrease on one side and increase on the other. This is implantation. So this is actually implanted, and where we have these chorionic villi here coming into contact with the uterus, they're starting to form the placenta. And then here's the umbilicus that's starting to form, the umbilical cord. The embryo has differentiated into the actual tissue stages and started to develop into the embryo, and the amniotic sac would be surrounding it. That's the yellow. The orange has become the yolk sac. So this is going to be the nourishment for the baby until the placenta completely forms and the umbilical cord makes a connection with the baby. Okay, if that doesn't happen, baby gets no nourishment. Okay, so it's using this until that can occur, and that's what this shows. So at this stage, notice that the chorionic villi on one side are completely gone. That's because this is the side that did not come into contact with the uterus. This side where the uterus has been contacted, the chorionic villi have differentiated and formed the placenta, and then we have the umbilical cord here. And notice now the yolk sac is almost completely gone. That's because we have an attachment point between the mother and the fetus.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
thank you.
Ovary, and this is just showing the stage from primordial up to primary, from secondary, Grothian, ovulation. So there's the actual ovule. If you take a look here, you have the fallopian tube. Got your little fimbriae. Okay. And then where they come back together, it's going to be the infundibulum. Okay. And then where it bends, you have the ampulla. And so here is the actual fallopian tube itself, and you can see the eggs coming down. That represents fertilization, because there's the sperm coming into contact with the egg. And then the divisions will begin. That's what you're seeing here. Fertilization, differentiation, division, same thing over here that we looked at earlier. As the egg comes down, it's going to implant in the uterus, of course in the endometrium. And you have your myometrium and your parametrium, your epimetrium on the outside. Over here, you've got the same thing that we looked at earlier. There's the amniotic sac, there's the yolk sac, here's the actual embryo. You can see the chorionic villi around the outside. Whole layer will be the chorion, and you can see the beginning of the umbilical cord there. And of course you have your umbilical cord there with the umbilical artery and veins. Okay. Fornix, that's a question a lot of people typically have, where the fornix is. The fornix is actually where the vagina makes contact with the cervix, so this area would be the fornix.
Alright, great.
And then of course that's the cervix, cervical canal, external cervical os, internal cervical os. Those are the openings in the cervix. And on this one you can actually see the ovarian ligament as well. Ovarian ligament. Good to go.